The third thing is, in our philosophy of Jain meditation, there comes a word Vichaya Dhyan, which is actually the Dharma Dhyan or the religious meditation. Actually, it is not religious meditation, it is the meditation on the truth. Dharma is the actual nature of reality. We have to contemplate, we have to think, and we have to imbibe this idea about is the truth on the nature of universe, on the nature of self, on the nature of a free self or God, whatever we call him, on the nature of things. Everything we have to contemplate, think and reach to the conclusion. We have to concentrate fully on single thing, that is called Vichaya Dhyan or the contemplative meditation in the Jain system of meditation, which is very important. In the ancient time, there had a tradition even in primitive peoples, aboriginals, tribal peoples, that you can heal yourself with faith healing. What is this faith healing? Actually, faith healing is a kind of therapeutic thinking in which a person concentrates himself on certain thing, on certain suggestion, auto-suggestion, and he becomes free from the sickness or illness. So actually, faith healing is not a blind faith or a blind superstition. It is a kind of systematic practice, systematic training of our own mind to make its faith a strong power, and by this help of the powerful faith we can cure ourselves. So faith healing was later on adopted in psychological field, especially psychiatry and psychotherapies. Mesmer discovered the phenomena of mesmerism, and later on hypnotism were also utilized by great psychologists like Freud and Jung to make a change in the subconscious level of the patients. All these things, they show that whenever we think or concentrate or give auto-suggestion, or we are under the influence of a very strong suggestions from other people, this idea is imbibed well deep into our own conscious and unconscious consciousness, and therein it gets a very great strength, a power, and from within it can change the whole process of biological physiology, the biochemistry, biochemical processes, the composition of hormones and other chemicals, and so on, and a person becomes all right, okay. So in this way, the therapeutic value of anupreksha and bhavana, the therapeutic value of contemplation and therapeutic thinking can be understood. In this way you can see that all these are the factors, all these are the ideas which can be understood well, and on the basis of all these we can know the value of the practice of contemplation and therapeutic thinking. One more very important aspect of this exercise is utilization of this kind of exercise or the practice for changing our own self, for bringing about a total transformation, ultimate transmutation of our personality, of our unconscious and subconscious mind. How is it possible? Because we know the effects of past karmic bondage are so powerful that in spite of having the knowledge of philosophy, the knowledge of spiritual principles, the knowledge of religious principles, we for more time remain lost in the worldly activities, not only worldly activities, but the activities which accrue more karmic bondage. Knowingly, deliberately even, we indulge in those acts which we call as sinful acts, evil acts. We can't give up. This is the tragedy of our life. Not only ignorant people, but those people who are well known for their knowledge, who are knowledgeable persons, who are scholars, who can expound all these theories very well to other people. But in their own life, they do exactly opposite to what they think or know. This is a great tragedy with all of us. How to get rid of this weakness? This exercise of anupreksha and bhavana is a very strong tool, a very strong means to penetrate inside our subconscious mind, inside our unconscious mind, and bring about a change there at that place. The strongly ingrained false beliefs, the strongly ingrained false ideas are to be purged off from this unconscious and subconscious levels of consciousness. Then and then only we can expect ourselves to practice the truth in life. And our negative attitudes, our negative ideas, our negative behavior, either due to the emotional impulse of anger, the emotional impulse of haughtiness and egotism, the emotional impulse of conceit, deceiving other people, the emotional impulse of greediness, of selfishness, of fear, of jealousy, of sexual desires, and so on and so forth. There is a very long list of all these kasar, passions, which are every moment vitiating our life, and we cannot practice the spiritualism in our life. If we want to get rid of all these negativities, we have to practice very profoundly and regularly these exercises of anupreksha and bhavana. If we practice them regularly, at least the minimum period of making it success is 3 months. Say for half an hour, if we practice the exercise of therapeutic thinking for fearlessness, abhay ki anupreksha, every day for half an hour and continuously for 3 months, then you find that the complex instinct of fear, the irrational instinct of fear, the negative emotion of fear has gone away from you. You are now a completely separate personality, different personality from which you were. You can now behave without fear. Your conduct is free from fear, and so on. In the same way, all other good virtues, all other desirable qualities and traits in life, we can actually cultivate in our personality, in our behavior, in our action, in our daily life, and we find that we get the advantage of leading a really spiritual life, leading a very successful life in the worldly matters, and leading a very good social life. We can become better human beings, and if the whole society is educated in these kinds of exercises, you can see this dream that whole society can be converted into a real human society, which has now deprecated into rather a bestial society. So in short, I have explained to you the theoretical aspects from the point of view of philosophy and spiritual ideas, beliefs, that what is the importance of this kind of practice and how it is to be done. Now let us contemplate or deliberate over this theme or this object from the point of view of scientific theories. As you know that whatever we know theoretically or whatever knowledge is only a bookish knowledge or verbal knowledge, that is confined only to our conscious mind, the part which is called the neocortex of our cerebrum. That is the place where we collect all our theoretical knowledge which we gain through logic, through language, through our verbal communications. All that knowledge is there, intellectual mechanism is there, and we utilize all these things in our daily life. But our action, our behavior, our conduct is not guided only by what we know intellectually. On the other hand, as we had already discussed, this power of bookish knowledge or verbal knowledge or intellectual knowledge is only a little. It has a little say in directing our action. The factor or the force which is more powerful than this intellectual guidance is our instinct, is lying well within, deeper into our deepest levels of consciousness, and whatever comes from there, the guidance, the directives, the impulses in the form of emotion or feeling or any kind of psychological powerful force that has the upper hand in every action, the bookish knowledge or the intellectual knowledge remains there, and it is overpowered by our instinctual negative forces. And that is why always we give up the virtue and indulge in vice, give up the good and indulge in evil, give up religion and indulge in sin. Very, very clear. Nobody should have this wrong belief that the intellectual knowledge or the bookish knowledge or the scholarship gained through the studies of scriptures can save you only from all such activities which you do not desire. You cannot save. It is no say even in deciding that whether you should do or not to do. That wisdom, that pragya, that vivek, that decision is not in the hand of intellectualism, it is in the hands of emotional intelligence. That's why we have to go deeper in our own self and find out the main important forces, the major factors developing there, exercise there, and bring about a total change there, a total biochemical transformation, a total trans-worldly this change or transformation, transmutation, transcendental transmutation. Then and then only we can succeed. So now you can very well appreciate the idea that for doing that we have to practice contemplation and concentrated therapeutic thinking.